Shalom. Welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. Welcome, Mark.
It's good to be back again.
And we have two very special guests with us. First, Christine Holle on the right, that she is the Executive Director of the Jewish Family Services, and then Bob, or Robert, Bob, I can call you Bob, Bob Gumson, he's the President of the Jewish Family Services. Christine and Bob, welcome to the Jewish View.
Yes,
Thank
welcome
you.
to the Jewish View. Christine, can you tell me what Jewish Family Services does and how it provides services to the community?
Jewish Family Services is a 160-year-old human service agency that provides a full range of human services to individuals and families throughout the capital region. Mental health services, services for seniors.
So you got counseling services, and you have the NENY.
We have NORC, that's a senior adult.
Isn't it NENY?
No, it's just NORC.
But you have two N's in there.
Two N's, but just
Okay.
NORC,
Okay.
which is the Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community, which provides supportive services to senior adults living in a specific geographic area within the city of Albany that helps them age in place.
And that's run by Deb Britano.
Deb is the community outreach coordinator of the
She's
NORC
the face
program.
of that.
Yeah, she really
Okay.
is.
And what else? So you do the counseling for mental health and for seniors and for grieving, and what other types of counseling?
A full variety of mental health counseling. We also provide supervised visitation services, both monitoring and therapeutic services that helps reunite families who are separated for a variety of reasons. We have Project 5, which is our senior transportation program, which is an unbelievable program that takes Jewish seniors where they want to go. We also have a transitions program, which helps people navigate through major life transitions, loss of a job, loss of a spouse, or a catastrophic diagnosis.
Well, what is your staff like? I mean, you know, obviously it's a big workload as you've been running off of a lot of big ideas there, but how many people and what are they, MSWs, social workers?
We have, our staff is about 22 strong right now. We have 7 full-time employees. We have MSWs on staff. We have mental health counselors, and then we have just professional staff who provide a variety of other services. We also have 2 nurses on staff who work with the NORC specifically.
If you had a bunch of money dropped in your lap, what else could you do besides having larger quarters? But you're located on Madison Avenue.
Yeah.
Between, I think,
Partridge
Quail,
and Ontario.
Partridge and Ontario. And what could you do, what more could you do for the community?
The services we provide are all fee-for-services, and they're all underwritten. We need to subsidize them because we deal with a population that is really not able to afford to pay fees, or we provide them on a sliding fee scale, but even sometimes as low as our fees go, people still say they can't afford them. So that would enable us to lower our bottom fee on our fee scale.
I just know that Newark takes them, like you said, a specific area. Why is it not Albany, or there is boundaries
There are
in Albany?
Yeah, there are boundaries, and that's the NORC is funded through the New York State Office for the Aging, and we're required to have a specific density of seniors age 60 and over within that service area. We have to have 40% seniors.
That is right in the middle of Albany?
Yeah.
What is the boundaries? Do you have a...
It goes from like the Thruway on the east side all the way to...
down New Scotland to Marwell, down Woodlawn. And then it kind of jogs over to Western and then down South Manning. So it's about 3 square miles right in that area.
I knew it was a specific area, but it was because there's so many seniors right there.
Yeah.
It's a concentration of seniors,
Yeah.
Interesting. It's a concentration, I don't know if to put 2 and 2 together, it's a real concentration. That's where the Jewish community
That's right.
really is.
It
I don't know
is.
what
You're right.
making...
It happens to be a very strong Jewish presence in that community. And you asked also what we might do with additional resources is we could certainly provide Newark-like services to people in the other parts of the city and the county that are not within the Newark. That is an issue because there are still so many people in need of supports and services to age in place.
Now, what's your budget like, for the annual budget?
We're just under $1 million.
Just under $1 million. And how much of that is fundraising? Does that come from because you have an annual dinner, you have a big gala every year?
We have a gala every year.
And you have other fundraising throughout the year, smaller fundraising. So how much do you raise?
About $100,000 a year comes from the community in direct fundraising.
And then Jewish Federation?
Federation supports us.
How much?
Yep.
It's about 20 to 22% in the low 20%.
Yep.
So what is that in terms of dollars?
About 200,000
Oh, about
total.
200,000,
Yep.
so that's 3, and the other 600,000 comes from
fees.
underwriting or fees?
Fees and the state through the Office for Aging.
Okay.
Um,
So that's how you get that's how you get your income. Okay, then
Yeah.
what's your expenses? How much do you?
Mostly people.
How much money do you spend a year?
Just
all of
about
it?
all of it.
we
It's
spend-
about
we spend
$900,000.
all- Right, we spend all of it, and because the 100,000 or so is fundraised, a variety of different ways. It's in essence a way to plug the budget, because really we wouldn't be able to provide the level of service we do now unless we had that support from the community.
Well, I mean, I was on a synagogue board for 10 years, and whenever we couldn't figure out how we were going to raise money, we always used fundraising as the plug, and if we did it, we did that. If we didn't, we didn't. So, but that was how we plugged the hole, at least to make it appear like a balanced budget.
That's exactly what we do.
Oh, you
as
do
well.
that too? Okay.
Oh yes, that is what we do.
Yeah.
I think it's the nature of sorry, Bob. I think
Right.
it's the nature of a nonprofit. We rely on the generosity of the community, and the community in Albany has been in the capital region has been very, very generous with Jewish Family Services over the years.
Now, how long have you been executive director?
I've been executive director just over a year.
Just over a year. And
Yep.
is it everything you thought it would be and more?
And more.
But you should ask her how long she's been with JFS.
Oh, you were with JFS in some other capacity before?
Yes, I'm in my 26th year with Jewish Family Services.
Oh.
I started in 1988, so I've been there a very long time.
When you were 10.
Ish.
Bob, maybe explain how you're the president, you've gone up through the ranks, of course, and tell us how you got involved or why you're interested in Jewish Family Services.
Okay, well, I've been on the board in one capacity or another for about 6 to 7 years now. I was recruited by the past president, Steve Ribner, who was a colleague, friend, going back to the days of the Hebrew Academy when our children were growing up together. So he kind of tapped me to be on the board. I also knew the previous executive director, Miriam Adler, as a friend. Joe and Miriam were good friends of mine over the years.
Still are?
They still are.
Okay.
They remain good friends of ours, absolutely.
So
we
that's
get
it. It's all
together.
through connections and feeling comfortable with the person and knowing who they are, and that's how you
Right.
got to this point. Well, why did you want to be president? I mean, for better or for worse. When
who-
some people are president, you say congratulations or condolences.
Who really wants to be, I mean, I heard it in your question, but who really wants to be president? I had no power, hungry aspirations to be board president. No one else appeared to be stepping up at
Oh.
a time we needed someone to, and I did. That's
Okay.
basically the answer.
And is it more than you thought it would be for yourself? Or?
It's a lot. It's
Yeah.
it's a big responsibility. It's time. It requires a lot of time and focus. And I'm luckily I'm able to do that and balance my life and my family life and work life with it. But it is a big responsibility.
Well, dovetails in your regular job. Explain your job.
Right.
So
Another area of interest that drew me to JFS in our Jewish community is that my day job is with State Ed, with the Adult Career and Continuing Education Services. For the past just about 22 years, I'm the administrator for a network of 39 not-for-profits all across the state that provide advocacy and services to improve the quality of life for people with disabilities. They're organizations that are run by people with disabilities. Their boards, by education law in New York, have to be a majority of people with disabilities. And they provide a range of services in their communities, their local community base, like a JFS would be. And you know, so I'm familiar with not-for-profit operations and all the fits and starts that go along with working in that arena.
Well, that's good. I think that's important because, Mark was in a way joking. He was on the board, but you get people in certain positions and they really don't know. It's almost like Fiddler on the Roof. If you're rich, they think you know. I mean, that's like I was a rich man. Like that person's president of the synagogue. Is he learned? Does he know how the prayers make a difference? He wants to put himself there, but here is just a situation where you are very well acquainted with social services from your job. You're just not a volunteer helping out. You come with expertise yourself.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to think so. And our board, to speak for my other board members, we have some really strong skills people on our board.
How many members do you have on your board?
Right now we have, I believe it's 12, soon to have a 13th member on our board. Our bylaws have us range between, I think it's about 9 to 20, somewhere in that range. And people have come and gone off our board, and we're always looking for people who have an investment in seeing services and reaching people who are disadvantaged and
you have my
in
name and number,
distress.
so
Well, we might be back in touch with
Okay,
you
I'm
soon
putting
because
my
we
hand
are
up.
very eager to find people in our community. These days there's a lot of stress on people's lives, and it's hard to get committed people.
I could just want to say, as a rabbi, people will come to a rabbi. I once went to counseling for clergymen, not that they need to help them be better counselors. And when they said before someone is hospitalized with mental illness, obviously it's very serious if they're being hospitalized, and they found out, and they obviously took their survey, that the last person that they went to, the last rung before they hospitalized themselves, who did you see last, was a clergyman. This wasn't anything Jewish, it was just general across the board. It was just a general hospital, a mental hospital. So, I, of course, counsel people, but then, you have professionals and, more time to be given to people, and also helping hand. There's a lot of things that I know. We refer people to the Jewish Family Services if they're going through a divorce.
Do people have to be Jewish to take advantage of the Jewish Family Services program?
Absolutely not, except for the Project 5, the transportation that's solely for Jewish seniors in Albany and Schenectady.
Okay.
But all other services are
Do
non-denominational.
you have a non-Jewish, people... I don't know, a non-Jewish person to knock on the door of Jewish Family Services.
Do we have many that come to us? The majority, I would say, Christine, you could help me out here, but I think about 60 to 70% of the people we serve are not Jewish.
Not Jewish.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why they come to the Jewish Family Services.
Well, they come to the Albany Jewish Community Center also because they know Jewish has a very positive and strong and honest history.
That's right, integrity that's behind it. Yep.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting that the non-Jewish community has that view of the Jewish community. But within the Jewish community, we're kind of a insular and really a smaller type of community.
Mm-hmm.
And when people walk into your office, into your building, is there like a stigma, oh, wait a minute, now, oh, so-and-so, big prominent person has a problem now, and that they need counseling, and, is there, how much, I'm sure there's privacy, and there's professionalism, and there's, people don't talk, but they do talk. They talk and they don't talk, it depends. So I'm just, in terms of who they know, they whisper, I don't want to say being a yenta, but things come, things are said in the community. How much do you think that deters someone from going to a small shop like yours?
I think it does. I think
Yeah.
I think it does, and I think that there are, even though we have professionals on our staff who they're professional, they honor confidentiality, and they have the highest standards, but people are, I think, more hesitant to come in if they have that kind of a problem, a mental health problem. If, however, their mother or father needs help, no matter who they are in the community, they're very willing to come to Jewish Family Services because we provide a quality service.
No,
and that's they come for the ride for their mom and
after
dad.
my father passed away, my mother went to JFS and was helped quite a bit. But, again, it's one of those things that even when she went, I still heard, oh, your mother's coming, to JFS or something. And I still heard that, from people who wanted to talk to me privately about this. But it was something that didn't bother me. My mother wasn't bothered by it. But the thing is that, people just kind of...
Well, I think just a little bit of a stigma in general. People just getting help in any case. So I don't want to say psychologist. That means I'm nuts. That puts a stamp on it. I'll work it through.
And then you can't work it through, and then that's where the problems come in. Also with psychological problems.
If I could just try to assuage that just a little bit, because it is a bit of people's attitude too about it, and I don't blame them for thinking that before experiencing it. But we have a real cross-section of people that come through JFS for a variety of reasons. I mean, you'd see board people in and out. You'd see, some of our other community members who are past board members that still help out on certain committees, and people that have helped serve on some of our honorary committees for our events and planning and so on. And when you really look at it, the mix of people that are coming in and out of JFS, you don't know what they're walking in and out of the building for, really. So it could be any number of reasons, and certainly the privacy and confidentiality, as Christine says, is maintained at the highest level if people are dealing with a personal or mental health issue.
Do you ever have your counselors meet someone off-site?
Oh, yes, we do. We
Okay.
provide...
Well, that's a way to get around it, yeah.
We provide in-home counseling for seniors and homebound individuals. That's become a fairly large service over the last number of years.
But if someone wanted to have a meeting over coffee at Starbucks or Dunkin's or something?
We would not do a mental health, we would not provide mental health services in that, because that would compromise the confidentiality, because you don't know who's sitting next to you, and we wouldn't do that.
But if you wanted to do it in the library, the New Scotland Annual has a quiet room, and they preferred to do it in a setting like that.
If it could be private, yes, then we could.
I just used the wrong
would
example.
But you say you work with seniors, of course, Newark, back to that idea. I mean, you've been in JFS so many years, so therefore you can, compare and contrast over the trends over the years. You're not new to it. I mean, as a senior citizens, they did I'm just saying the Pew, if you're familiar with that, they talked about the Jewish community, this the poll of the people and the survey of all across the nation, and the Jewish people are getting older as a people, and therefore, more seniors, but they need more services. They get older, they're handicapped, they're alone. We know all these kind of things, so the services increase. I mean, the older you get, the more you need services. Have you seen an increase, over the years?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the seniors.
Yeah, the number of seniors who are requesting help, and help comes in a lot of different forms. Sometimes it's actual Jewish Family Services going in and providing an actual services. Sometimes it's just pointing them in the right direction and getting them to the service that can do what they need. But we get a lot of calls. We field a lot of information and referral calls from seniors.
How many people throughout a year do you think JFS sees?
We touch almost 3,000 people a year, touch their lives in some way.
Do you think that's a lot for this area, or is it not?
I think for an agency our size, it's a lot of people.
Because now you also have the senior place that's on Allen is it on Allen Street? The one that Bill Rockwood was
Oh,
heading
Senior
up.
Hope.
Senior Hope,
Yeah.
and which provides counseling services.
Mhm.
And now you have Lev Lelev,
Mm-hmm.
which is Miriam has
Mhm.
started with 2 other people.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering, you know,
I think
is there
there's
a
enough.
need?
I think there's enough business to go around 2 or 3 times over with all that we have now.
Really? Wow.
The
It's
aging.
a lot of hurt out there. Then that's a lot of hurting.
It's not just hurt; it's just need. I mean, people. How
If you
often
need it, you're hurting.
How often do people age? They just age into it. You don't know when you're going to have a certain need, have an injury, have an accident, have a chronic condition, have the result of some kind of a surgery. I mean, there are so many, I've watched it with my own family and parents, there are so many things that you can't count on ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Moves, downsizing, filling out forms, dealing with insurance companies, on and on and on. There's so many complexities in your senior years.
I think
Medications and hospitalizations and return to the community.
Well, I think you're doing a great service for the area, not just the Jewish community, but the non-Jewish community too. I don't know what we would do if we didn't have something like this. So, while we have other services, you are a big part of what really holds this community together, and I think that's
Thank you.
a great
Thank you.
testament. Kirsten, can you tell us about your background, what degrees you have, or where you grew up, and
I grew up right here in the capital region. I've got
what town?
in Cohoes.
In Cohoes,
Yeah.
okay.
And I have a bachelor's in accounting and am working on my MBA as we speak. So,
So you don't have an MSW?
No, I am not an MSW.
Okay. Do you feel that you were prepared for this role, or?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think certainly the 25 years that I spent at the agency before becoming executive director
Yeah.
was really.
What was your role in the agency?
In the fiscal office.
Oh,
Always in the
okay.
fiscal office, yeah. Controller, chief financial officer.
Wow, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So good luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep going. Bob, I wanted to ask you about your background and where you grew up.
Okay, I grew up in Brooklyn, in Canarsie, Brooklyn. I went to college upstate New York in Binghamton, and then for grad school, I went to Boston University, and I have a master's in rehabilitation counseling. And I stayed in the Boston area after graduating for 15 years and came back here to state ed to take the job I'm still in 20 years later.
And where do you live?
I live right in Albany by Buckingham Pond.
And you, family, it's?
I have 3 children of my own, 5 stepchildren, 11 step-grandchildren, and I live with my wife, Pat, in our home.
You don't look too old to, is that old to have grandchildren?
Step-grandchildren, I said.
I know, it's step. I don't know how, I don't want to get
Listen,
into
Mark,
this.
again,
I'm
I'm
not getting
29,
into the-
and I have grandchildren too, so I'm 29 years old.
I'm not going any further.
Uh,
But anyway, thank you, Bob, for also your,
I don't know, Bob, I mean, just, you are blind yourself. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that and how that may have led you into the profession and your volunteerism.
and were you ever sighted?
Yeah, okay. Well, I was sighted as a child. I lost my sight little by little from an eye disease, many surgeries, but it was all gone by the time I was preteen, pretty much. And, I can't say for sure. I think I wanted to be a baseball player more than anything in the world, but what kid didn't want to be?
Mm-hmm.
I was very into sports as a youngster. I kind of gravitated to human services. I didn't actually imagine that that's what I would be doing as a career. I didn't purposefully plan to do it, but I had a lot of friends in contact that seemed to naturally come to me. And as I went through school and studied, it again came natural, and I was comfortable with the career area, and eventually I became an administrator, and I've actually spent a great deal more time administering human service programs than I have actually doing counseling.
But, I mean, you must have been sensitized to the social services. Like, for example, a lot of people go in professions. I asked one person, he was a chiropractor, he says, I had a bad back. I had an accident when I was a kid, so he was so into the back. So I went into, you have that kind of idea. Well, I mean, I would think that it's sensitized you,
some
know,
of
to
that
Social
may have
Security.
happened, Rabbi. It may have. I mean, when I was a kid and I had to go through quote-unquote rehabilitation programs that taught me everything from Braille to how to use a cane. I did go with other visually impaired youngsters. Once I got to college, though, I really didn't have much contact with human services any longer. You know, as I adjusted to blindness, I guess I did. And that could have prepared me a little bit more for, you know, a background in human services. I kind of knew what the rehabilitation counselor was going to be like or do and work with people. You know, the kind of rehabilitation I was involved in my early years in Massachusetts was helping across disability, mostly mental health, people with mental health issues and substance use disorders get back to work. Help them gain the skills, the confidence to return to employment.
Were you looking, when Governor Paterson was in office, was that something that made you proud, or how did you feel about?
I tell people that it was blind.
That's
people know. I mean, it
Yeah,
was practically blind, wasn't it, or legally
yeah,
blind?
Governor David Paterson
That's an interesting question.
was limited sight, but he was considered legally blind. And
David Paterson and I could have gone to school in the same school and crossed with each other 3 to 6 years of my schooling in Brooklyn if his parents didn't take him out and move him to Long Island.
Right.
So, you know, we share a lot of, you know, common experiences growing up in New York City and in the area. I was proud to have a governor who was blind, and to see somebody who's blind, you know, get that to that level of, you know, responsibility. You know, I met David Paterson several times over the years through my work, because he did at times sponsor some events, come and talk to the disability community.
when he was a state senator?
When he was a senator in Harlem, he was one among a group of folks that helped to spin off a Harlem Independent Living Center, which is the not-for-profit network that I work with. So we had close encounters. I never really was close with him, but he was a good role model for some. For others, he may not have been, because he did not use a cane.
No,
and he did not read Braille, and those are two very important things
But they wouldn't
for blind
let him,
folks.
They wouldn't let him take the bar exam. He went through law school, but there was something about the bar exam. They don't give it in Braille. He does know Braille.
Well, he does not use Braille.
No, but he had to learn not to use Braille because of the law school. And he said something about the bar exam was never given. He was never allowed to take it because he couldn't see it, and they didn't give it in Braille. I think now they do.
The bar exams are now given in Braille.
Yeah.
But the old bar, I'm not completely sure. I took an LSAT, and when I took LSATs, they used an old LSAT.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't continuously provide blind folks with the most recent versions.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what happened with the bar exam. I know blind folks that did take the bar exam. Matter of fact, I went to college with a fellow who was in school at Harvard the same time as David Paterson, who did take the bar exam, was totally blind, and could not read Braille either.
All I know is that I was just amazed that David Paterson could give the State of the State message, can give a state budget address, and it was all as if it was from memory.
His memory is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And I hope yours is, and I hope that you have, you know, as
Mark, we have to conclude,
Yes.
but again, you know, I counsel people, and I see many problems, but just it's so heartening, if I could say that a person, you know, has a few strikes against them, but can overcome them. You know, the head of a state agency, and you're president of a volunteer. You know, how many people do that? You've accomplished more than most people. And even though, and I don't like using the word also, handicapped, people would say, and then other people would say, oh, I have problems. I says, you know, I admit you have issues, but on the other hand, you know, you're heartening to see someone overcome, you know, obstacles in their lives and achieve more than, as far as I'm concerned, as most people out there, you know, like I say, with your job and in your off time, if you can say that, in your volunteer work. So we're out of time. It was very good. Again, we always give our
Thank you.
blessing that you should continue the good work. And thank you, Bob, for volunteering. Christine, like Mark says, you're doing a big service to the community, an important service to the community. So keep it up and only grow.
Right.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.